We will continue the series of lessons on new things, new in the sense that it's a different one, but we're into the fourth week or fourth session of this series on it's all in the mind. We could say it is all in your mind. And lesson one, the topic for the first session was sickness is not real. Sickness is not real. Why is it that sickness is not real? Because it's all in your mind. Session two was, well, what is mind? What is mind? But we established in that lesson that who knows? No one knows, according to some of the leading philosophers who have tried to explain how mind works, realizing that to know what God is takes some masterful explaining. Part three, mind is spiritual matter. So we are understanding that we're trying to explain how mind works to know what mind is. We can know how it works. We know what it does, but to know what it is bordering on the unknowable. Continuing to learn how to understand what it is by practicing using it. Our fourth lesson is mind is medium. Mind is the medium. There's only one universal medium, and mind is that universal medium of God. Of God. It is something that God uses. Now, what we'll be talking about are facets of God, and mind is one of the foundational facets of God. We're making a distinction between facet and medium in the sense that medium, as we are explaining tonight, is not a facet, F-A-C-E-T, of God, but medium is an attribute of the facet of God called mind. It's an attribute of the facet of mind called God. We are mental scientists. We are metaphysicians. We are word craftsmen. We are students of the word, and every word is important. We, in our practice, go beyond definitions of words and terms to the inner meanings of words or terms. The meaning is more important to us than the definition. The definition is of man. Meaning is of God, and even more particularly, meaning is of the Holy Spirit, and more particularly than that, meaning is of the intuition in each individual person. Meaning is personal. Meaning can change. Meaning varies from experience to experience, from seeker to seeker. What does it mean to you? You can read and study many books and understand and read what various spiritual terms and names mean to them. And that's good, but I use that as an entree. I use that as an introduction. I use that as an opening. I use that as a, now I'll use your meaning in order to wait. for the meaning that the Holy Spirit gives to me, because the meaning that the Holy Spirit gives to me as it comes, it heals. It heals. It heals. And so our topic here tonight, mind is the medium, is more of a talk tonight than it is a lesson. And what I mean by that is that for the most of you, what I will be sharing here today is absolutely nothing new. Not only the concept is not new, it is not new to you, but the very words and the excerpts and the quotations and the outline that I'm sharing with you, you will find nothing new at all. I'm not bringing anything new. What I am bringing to you is a review of what we've already talked about for some time, and especially over the last 3 weeks. And before that, in the lessons, a series of lessons, 6 of them on the topic auto-suggestion in spiritual healing, auto-suggestion in scientific prayer. That was the 6 lessons that covered the theme auto-suggestion that preceded this theme. It's all in your mind. And so I just want you to listen for something here before I, bring up the handout and talk through it as a talk more so than a lesson. The reason I'm designating it and distinguishing it as a talk is because I further want to help you to shift from the axiom that I use from taught to caught. Yeah, see, this stuff is caught, not taught. I want to make sure that you catch the meaning of medium in relationship to spiritual healing, in relationship to understanding what mind is. If we are saying that it is all in your mind, then the question to be answered is, then where is it? If this disease, if the pain, if the upset, if the grief, if the unforgiveness, if the whatever it is that you're praying for and healing has not come, if it's not, how is it all in your mind? If it's not in your body, if it's not in your outer world, it's not in the physical aspect of your life, and you said it's all in the mind, then how so is it all in your mind? And you're going to growing into a higher and higher and clearer understanding of this from topic to topic to topic. In this particular lesson, you're seeing how it is all in your mind in this topic and this understanding of what medium is in relationship to mind, in relationship to mind. Let's go by sharing the handout. If you do not have the handout, it was sent to you before the 7 o'clock. It's not necessary that you must have it in order to understand and follow along with us. I do have it here on the monitor, but you might be participating by phone and don't have it on your screen. I'm going to be going through it patiently, so it's not necessary to have the script. But I write here is that ideas that we're going to be exploring over this weeks here, because I don't know how many lessons this will cover. I never know how many. We'll just exhaust it, and then we'll know when we're at the end. It could be 4 lessons, could be 12 lessons, could be 7. Don't know. But we've already covered sickness is not real. We've covered what is mind. We've covered mind is spiritual matter. Tonight, we're covering mind, the medium. We will cover mind versus intelligence. Mind is not intelligence. We will cover what is disease. We will cover, again, what is imagination. And we will always be referring to and perhaps have a separate lesson on where is the pain? All through these talks, we will be talking about where is the pain? Where is the pain? All right. So I write here to help stay focused on the purpose, goal, and aim of these lessons on this theme. It's all in your mind. We will again begin our lesson with the Socratic question. And it is this: I am suffering. I am sick. I am upset. I'm dealing with an incurable. I'm dealing with a prognosis that is not good. I am dealing with a diagnosis that is chronic, long-standing, or I am dealing with something that is acute, that is troubling me. Medicine does not cure it. Nothing heals it. And there seems to be no hope to resolve this situation by prayer. I've read books, I've attended seminars, I've gone to practitioners, I've prayed, I've helped others to I've had others to pray with me and for me. Then what does real and unreal and does not exist mean to a suffering person like me? How can I not but believe that this sickness, this disease, this problem, this incurable, this condition, this situation, how can I not but believe that this sickness, this disease, this problem, this condition, this situation, etc., is real? When I'm experiencing sickness, when I'm experiencing pain, this pain, this pain, this pain. Well, Quimby says these words. Well, what I'm about to quote to you is a quote from Mingling Minds, a book that was written by Ervin Seale, writing a commentary on the works of Quimby. He says, one of the main concepts of Quimby's philosophy and science and practice is namely that disease is not independent of the mind. Slow that down. One of the main concepts, and Quimby is the father of New Thought in America. One of the main concepts of Quimby's philosophy and science and practice is namely that pain is not independent of the mind, cannot and does not exist by itself, and that sickness follows the belief that disease is an independent life. He asked the question, where was the pain? Where was the sickness? Where was the problem? Where was the diagnosis before you knew about it? I shared about 2 or 3 weeks ago that I had gone to emergency room on a Saturday night. Sunday morning, early after not being able to sleep during the previous night. And then went back on to urgent care on Monday morning, having received no surcease, no relief from morphine and another narcotic, Norco, and on and on and on, because of the severe, excruciating pain. What I'm about to share to you has happened to you, knowingly, unknowingly, consciously, unconsciously. You remember sometimes, and sometimes you don't even remember what I'm about to say, where you caught the disease, or the genesis or the problem. And here is a perfect example for me how it is all in your mind. Mine started months. I'm not telling the whole story again, so I don't want anybody to start cringing and say, oh, I got to listen to this again. No, I'm not going back and give you the whole scenario. But it started a few months ago from an automobile accident. And I had delayed reaction in terms of months later, I was bending over and went into spasms in the lower back. And when I went to the emergency room, and I don't want anybody asking me questions about it, please. Thank you. how are you doing and all that stuff. I don't like that. Don't care about your interests. Don't want your prayers. Just leave me alone. That's how I deal with it myself. So what happened was, in the interview room on Sunday morning, I was asked a series of questions. And one of the questions was, I was there for the lower muscle spasm in the back. Do you have pain in your hip, pain in your leg? No. Then they went on to describe the pain that they were looking for in my leg. Did you have radiating pain going down either leg? I said, no. I went to the doctor, back to the urgent care the next morning because the pain was no worse, no better, as I said, after morphine, after Norco, after another. So they didn't want to try another drug. So let me make it short. So that was Monday morning. I will have you know, by Wednesday or Thursday, I was back on the phone begging for an urgent appointment because of what? The radiating pain down my leg. That was excruciating. Where did it come from? Right here is what we're talking about. It's all in the mind. Let's go back to the handout. Where was the disease before you knew about it? In my case, it was in the doctor's mouth. It was the opinion of the physician. I didn't have the doggone radiating pain until he put it in my mind, and I accepted it. Mind the knower, it is written here, is also mind the maker. Mind, so when you really need to stop, and I'm talking about the medium right now, mind the medium. The medium was at work for me in that emergency room. The medium, the words that came out of the doctor's mouth and the image that it arose, that arose in my mind and began to go to work to create something that was not there. Mind the knower is also mind the maker. So when I say the disease is in the mind, I mean that it does not exist anywhere else, says Quimby. So when I say the disease is in the mind, I mean that it does not exist anywhere else. He is not saying that the disease is not real. He is saying that it does not exist anywhere else except but in the mind, and that's where it is real. He is not saying that the pain is not real, that the pain does not exist. Yes, but it exists nowhere else but in the mind. So this understanding lights up the mind in freedom, banishes 1,000 devilish fears, and restores the mind to its kingly confidence. To seek to, now that's the end of the quote of Quimby and Mingling Mind. So we go back to the words of Aman. To seek to define God or mind on the way to understanding what medium is. To seek to define God, to seek to define mind, is to chase an oxymoron. An oxymoron is apparently contradictory terms appearing in conjunction, such as defining God. To define God, to define mind is an oxymoron. That's what makes it undefinable. So let's hang out there for a minute. We are mental scientists. We are word craftsmen. We are metaphysicians. We're not religious people. We're thinkers, discerners of truth, code crackers, says Reverend Paul. Let's read that again. To seek to define God or mind is to chase an oxymoron, and that is what makes the term undefinable. We're trying to define the undefinable. I don't know if that's indefinable. Well, I need to double check that. Now, the phrase is a classic distraction, the oxymoron. The phrase is a classic distraction of the ego, trying to define mind, trying to define God. Let me show you how it is a distraction of the ego that leads away from the truth of what God and mind is. Of course, the miracle says the ego may ask questions to which there are no answers. There's no answer to that, what God is or what mind is. That's a distraction of the ego, says A Course in Miracles. So the idea God is undefinable, unless that's indefinable. Well, as I said, I need to double check that. It's confusing because the term God is the name already given to something that is an infinite and boundless aggregate of multidimensional facets, features, aspects, and characteristics of itself. And still includes added attributes of which medium is a foundational one. I'm going to reread that and try to break it down because what I want you to listen for is something. And you shift, understanding what I am about to reread for you to grasp, takes you over the line from taught to caught in understanding what medium is. That's what I'm preparing your mind to understand. That's what I'm tilling the soil to help you understand what medium is in relationship to mind in the context of spiritual healing or scientific prayer. You need to know what medium is from a spiritual sense, from a hands-on practical healing consciousness, a practitioner's consciousness. The idea God is undefinable is confusing because the term God is the name already given to something. So God, the name God itself is a definition. Rather than trying to define it, you're trying to define a definition. How are you going to define a definition? That's what makes it an oxymoron. The name God itself is a definition of something that is so infinite, that is so universal, that is so allness until it can't be defined. But it is the definition of. What is it the definition of? It has a meaning. God is undefinable, is confusing because the term God, the term mind, is the name already. Now, God is not mind, but I'm saying mind like God, these terms are names already given to something that is an infinite and boundless aggregate of multidimensional facets, features, aspects, and characteristics of itself. And still, that's not all of it. And it still includes other added attributes, of which medium is only the foundational or one of the most dynamic ones. We're talking about one of the attributes of mind, not attributes of God, but attributes of God by way of it being an attribute of mind. I love this stuff. But you want me to tell you how long it took me to decode that, to decipher that, in the clarity that I was able to verbalize it, articulate, or write it as you're receiving it now, from Tuesday to Tuesday, from last week to this week, over and over and over. And this is how Spirit gave it to me. Therefore, to understand that mind is the medium of God, it is essential to understand what medium means in relationship to the subject of this lesson. It's all in your mind. Now I want you to listen for and catch what medium is in your daily prayer as you do your daily affirmations, as you are using your string of 20 knots every day in every way. I am getting better and better. Every day in every way, I am getting better and better. Every day, wait a minute, I'm saying as you do these 20 knots, as you look at your cup of ice and it's melting away and melting, you're working on and through this medium of mind, this medium of mind, this medium of mind. You see, medium is nothing of itself. It's the name of something that mind uses. It is the name of something that mind uses, that it works through. A medium, the one universal medium. That is God working through your mind through the medium. The mind of God working through the medium, the universal medium. But this medium is magnetic. This medium is magnetic. What makes it magnetic? Well, we're going to cover that in another lesson when we talk about ether, the ether that we're immersed in and surrounded by, the magnetic power of God, substance of God. But we'll get to that. Therefore, to understand that mind is the medium of God, it is essential to understand what medium means in relationship to the subject of this lesson. It's all in your mind. We begin by recognizing that God is a collective noun, and mind is one of its most collaborative and at the same time transforming facets. Like God, the meaning of mind must be in your mind, in your consciousness, in your practical use of it, in your thinking, when you're thinking about this medium, when you're thinking about mind, when you're thinking about God at work in your life. Like God, the meaning of mind must be dynamic, not memorized from some intellectual's writing. Mind is ... No, that's right for him. That's right for her. What is it to you? Well, what's your fresh manner, your fresh understanding? After I tell you, then I want you to tell me what it means to you, what it is to you. Like God, the meaning of mind must be dynamic and fluid and not precise or fixed, because its meaning is forever expanding naturally alongside man's evolution. And what is evolution? It is each individual's ever increasing understanding of his own spiritual nature. That's what sets him on, aside from some other teachers. I don't know what God tells you. I want to know what God tells me. I don't want to know what you know. I want to know how you know what you know. I want to go to the same source that you go to and come back with my own stuff. Like God, the meaning of mind must be dynamic and fluid and personalized and not precise or fixed, because its meaning is forever expanding naturally alongside your evolution, which is your individual ever increasing understanding of your own spiritual nature. Oh, yeah. Now, this brings us to the teaching. I had to get you ready for our talk tonight. This is not a lesson. This is a talk. This is a fireside chat. This is a recliner lesson. You get out of your chair and sit in here, lay back in your recliner and listen to this lesson tonight. We're just having a little chat. And I haven't said anything new to you that I haven't said to you already. We're reviewing. Mind is medium. You know, if you've been a student of this truth, even from the beginners, if you've had nothing but an introductory lesson, you know what medium is. You taught that from the beginning. That's 101. That's ABCs. That's kindergarten. Medium, but it was taught, not caught. The talk tonight is to have you catch medium, because I wanted you to be thinking about medium all the time, knowing that this medium is always it is dynamic, it is active, whether in your conscious state or your unconscious state. This medium is dynamic, it's fluid, it's working. It is the laboratory of God. This brings us to the teaching of Phineas Quimby, who lived 1802 to 1866. Now let's place ourselves during that period, early 19th century, late 19th century. During this period of man's evolution, during that period of time, 1800, coming into the end of the 1800s into the early 1900s, during this period of man's evolution, mind was viewed as intelligence. Did you know that? You don't perceive mind as intelligence, some of you. But people of that day predominantly perceived that mind was intelligence. And Quimby proved this not to be true, ushering in what is today called New Thought. Quimby was the great discovery of this. Quimby, and out of that later on grew fields like psychology and so forth, which was derived from these early teachings of these spiritual leaders. Quimby's theory was mind is not a thing, a substance, a being, an entity, a place, neither was it tangible or visible. Mind is the medium, the instrument, or the way of God's creation in life. So mind is the instrument of God. Mind and medium is the instrument of mind. And it's God's creation, the way of God's creation in life. How does God create in life through mind, through medium, is what is broken down over this series of lessons, which is important in practicing spiritual healing or scientific prayer. Understanding it is anyway. So mind is the medium for divine intelligence. It is the instrument for divine intelligence and the instrument of God and the way of creation through which God's purpose and will and man's divine destiny is fulfilled and achieved. How so? By man's thoughts and feelings. How so? Through the faculty of imagination, which is a facet of God as man's mind. A facet of God as man's mind. You see how that came around? So this something that is no thing and is called mind. Mind is no thing, nothing, nothing, nothing. Out of nothing comes something. Out of no thing comes something. Out of mind comes something. This comes something, yes, comes something. Look at that. It starts off as being something, but that something is no thing. That something is nothing, and it's called mind. And it gives direction by your beliefs. You're in control of this mind by your beliefs. I want to modify and edit what I just said. You're in control. The reason I want you to change that is this, and want to stop to say that I don't believe that happened by accident. That happened because I have these pieces of ice in the cup where I affirm that the ice symbolizes the melting away and dissolving of any encumbrance that would impede God's divine and perfect message flowing through my mind. And it's something just happened because of my belief that that is what was happening in my mind. God dissolving all encumbrances because I said a word that was a mistake. And let me tell you what I just said. I said something about gives direction and control of your beliefs. That's what I need to change because that is the distraction. That is the confusion of the ego. That is a falsity. Now, to help clarify that, after last week's lesson, one of you called me. I don't know if you called me the night of the lesson or the next day, but we had a conversation and you're here tonight. And one of the things that you said that I didn't respond to, but it impressed my mind until I said, But when I say I said, that is my language of spirit said to me. That was the inner voice, the inner conversation. And then I said, thank you, Spirit. Because this person said, the night's class was so meaningful to me. It was so powerful. And it helped me so much. One of the things that it did for me, it helped me to be able to direct my mind and control my mind and control my thinking. Now, upon your hearing that, you would hear, well, what of it? Was there something wrong with that? And I'm saying, yes. But I heard it and I said, I will use that for a point of clarification in next week's talk, because I think that is the reason it was given to me. And yet I unintentionally said the same thing just now, because that is coming from the conditioned mind. The Thunder of Silence, written by Goldsmith. There's a chapter in there and 2 chapters on conditioned mind and unconditioned mind. And I was speaking from the conditioned mind. We are so conditioned to seeing things in a certain way until we believe it to be true. We've heard it and that's the language. And there's nothing further from the truth. So let me make the correction or the healing that came from me, and that is this. This something that is no thing, that is nothing, and is called mind, gives direction to your beliefs. That's true. But I inserted the word control. That's from conditioned mind. That's not true. And that's what the person said to me last week. It helps me to direct and control. You don't want control. That's the lesson here. No, you don't want to control and you don't want control. Your role is to direct, not control. This something that is no thing and is called mind gives direction by your beliefs. That's what you want to the creative process. You leave the control to the Holy Spirit. You leave the control to God. You surrender control, and then He directs and teaches you how to direct mind. Your role is to direct mind, and mind directs the medium. Spirit directs, and this higher wisdom controls. That's what Quimby contributed to the New Thought message. Quimby revealed this aspect that I'm talking about, right? This concept that I'm talking about right now. There's a higher wisdom. And that's how he separated mind and intelligence. That intelligence is what controls. The divine intelligence, superior wisdom. This something that is no thing and is called mind gives direction by your beliefs to the creative process. However it is governed, that's what the control is. However it is controlled by, however it is governed by, however it is controlled by, however it is governed by a superior intelligence or wisdom to bring into form whatsoever man desires, whether he is thinking about it or not. And the scripture explains that this way: it is done unto you as you believe. That's what that means. It is done unto you as you believe. I wish we had time to reread that, but we got a little bit more to go. So, to this end, this is the goal and aim of learning in these lessons on the theme, it is all in your mind. And so we continue to elaborate on the question, what is the it in it's all in your mind? When we say it is all in your mind, what is the it? The it generally means that no matter what it is in life, no matter what you're praying for, praying about, whatever you're trying to remove in your life, whatever you're trying to gain in your life, whatever you're trying to heal, resolve, the fact never changes that no matter what you or how you're experiencing it, or on what level your experience may be, it is all in your mind. This can be, for many, a most difficult concept to digest in understanding and practicing healing, and more so, teaching it. Let us remember the established Socratic question: if I'm suffering and in pain, how can I not believe that it's real? Quimby said it this way: when I say that the pain is in your mind, I mean that it does not exist anywhere else. From the 1926 Science of Mind edition of the Science of Mind textbook, speaking on medium, Dr. Ernest Holmes closes our lesson out by saying these words: it has also been proven that thought operates in such a manner as to make it possible to convey mental impressions from one person to another, showing that there is a mental medium between all people. In talking about medium, moving from taught to caught, every thought that you have ever had is impressed upon this visualized a phonographic record, big giant album of the universe, imprinted in those grooves. Every conversation, every thought, this is a medium. And it's still being telegraphed between and among. And just let that thought expand and extend, reverberate out. It has also been proven that thought operates in such a manner as to make it possible to convey mental impressions from one person to another, showing that there is a mental medium between all people. This is why forgiveness is important. Unforgiveness is a hindrance to answered prayer. Upsets, anger, and all other degraded forms of thinking. There's a medium there that's being communicated to the soul. When we think of it, how could we talk with each person unless there were some kind of a medium through which we talked? We could not, and so we know that there really is such a medium. While there is a place where our bodies begin and leave off as form, there does not appear to be a place where our thought leaves off. Every thought is recorded in this medium. Moving from a negative to a positive, we can choose the thoughts that we want to impress into and upon this medium and supplant thoughts that we want to be obliterated from and out of this medium. All these thoughts are active, active, active. Indeed, the observations made and the facts gathered show that the medium between men's minds is omnipresent. That is, it seems to be everywhere present. That is, in this world and the other world at the same time. Radio also shows this, for messages are sent out through some kind of a universal medium. And all that we can say of it is that we know the medium is there. So it is with mind. So we use that as an analogy to show how mind as a medium works the same. So it is with mind. All that we can say is that everything happens just as though it were there, this mind, this mental medium. We have a perfect right then to say that such a medium exists. Our topic is mind, the medium. This opens up a far-reaching theory, for it leads to the conclusion that we are surrounded by a universal mind, which is the medium of the communication of our thoughts. Perhaps this is the mind of God. Who knows? That it is there, we cannot doubt. And so what we're saying here simply is, every thought that is leaving your mind goes somewhere. You cannot take a break. This is why we use our 20 knots. Every day, in every way, I am getting better and better. Every day, in every way, I am getting better and better as you fall asleep. This is why you're using your cup with the 3 pieces of ice. You're seeing it, the pieces dissolving, melting away and melting away. And you're communicating that to the medium. And the medium really, in this aspect, is your unconscious part of the mind. And the unconscious part of your mind is the work of the infant, instinctive man, the instinctive life that is in you, that never sleeps, that is always operating for you when you're thinking or not, and is always operating on your belief, whether you're thinking of it or not. Change your belief, you change your life. It is not just changing your thinking, it is also, or more importantly, changing your thinking, because your belief is operating on the belief, whether you're thinking of the belief or not. And so it is.